the church! Shame on the church!
Woo! Woo! Miigwech! The church protect their pedophiles. The church protect their pedophiles. To this day, they still protect their pedophiles. They move them from one parish or one town to another, and they keep the abuse going and going and going.
Enough is enough!
Enough is enough!
Shame on the churches! Shame on Canada! Shame on the churches!
Shame on the churches! Shame on the churches! Shame on the churches!
Yes, you had to sign over guardianship
To the residential.
to the church, and they they kept it.
Piece of paper.
And children living in these residential schools, many of them never went home for more than 10 years. Some of them did go home, and the ones that stayed there wondered, why am I not going home? Why are they going home? Where's my mom? Where's my dad? Where's my aunties and my uncles? How come they come for those kids and not me? Well, you couldn't leave the reserve without the permission of the warden, the Indian agent. If you spoke his language, if you spoke English, if he chose not to understand you, you didn't get to leave that reserve. You didn't get to go and see your children. Children grew up thinking their parents hated them. Never going home for summer, never going home at that Christmas time. When they did finally leave, and they made their way home, they didn't speak their language anymore. They had no connection to their family. Their parents sometimes had other kids, and other kids, and other kids. But every time the children were born, they would be taken. And each generation, they were taken younger and younger, because of the brutality they lived with, that intergenerational abuse began to take hold. And it was hard to bring up your child when all you knew was beating. It's a horrible shame. So children at the age of 3, 4, 2, 1, newborn were taken. The butterbox babies, taken right from almost birth and taken into foster care. And as was mentioned earlier, given into white families, settler families, who didn't have to pass any test. And the abuse continued there. Many children, Native children, were shipped to the States, oftentimes to single father families, if you want to call it that. They were shipped overseas. Just recently in the news this past year, you hear about the Inuit families who were taken from their homes. They would take this man and that woman and this child and that child and put them on display in zoos. On display. There were Inuit people that were taken from their communities and told they were gonna live in this great new place, a little further up. The food is plentiful, lots of game. They said they could come back after 2 years. That never happened. They were sent farther away, up into the Arctic Circle, for Canadian sovereignty. If they had people living on those islands up in Baffin Island and further north, Canada could claim that land and that water base as their own. They starved. This is new news to me too. I had no idea. This came out in the papers just this past year. The government's known about it forever, ever since they instituted this plan. Nations across all of North America, Turtle Island, went through this. The States was no different. In fact, our politicians got a lot of their ideas from the States, from Colonel Pratt, who opened up the Carlisle Institute. There's a picture of him here somewhere, on one of the boards. And one of the pictures that's with him, if anyone has it, there it is. Look at all those children from the Carlisle Institute. It's a sea of children. It's unbelievable. His expression was kill the Indian and save the man. Well, Canada likes to copy the States, so we copied their schools, but didn't have them as a military-run operation like they did in the States. They marched. They were forced march daily. March to brush your teeth, march to breakfast, march for marching's sake, but silently. If you speak, you were beaten. Canada liked that expression so much, we changed it a little bit. Plagiarism. Harper's known for that too. But in the early days, I believe it was Duncan Campbell Scott who changed it to kill the Indian, save the child.
Final solution.
And final solution, true. That's another one of Duncan Campbell Scott, and this time it was Hitler that appropriated that term. But this was a term that was coined by Duncan Campbell Scott, the final solution. To get rid of the Indians, to get the land. It's always been about the land.
Where's the church today? Why aren't they out here talking to us? Are they hiding? They're hiding
They're
in there,
all
aren't they?
cowards.
They're hiding. They're always hiding.
Well, the minister came out earlier and he was talking to me. One of the things I said to him was, if your relatives were taken away and disappeared, wouldn't you want them brought back for a proper burial? If your mother was taken away and sterilized so you couldn't have any kids, wouldn't you want something done about that, some justice? And at that point he got up and left because, you see, it's like, it's all up here still for them. And they're going to move down here and realize it's about children and about us, all of us. This is all our story. And we've got to somehow arouse that feeling in people now. It's not about money, it's not about an apology, it's about human beings and our humanity and what we need to do to recover that. And do justice to those we've wronged, and we continue to wrong.
That's right. It's the greatest crime being committed against humanity. This thing shouldn't happen to children.
Shouldn't happen to anybody.
The TRC, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, this whitewash, they're going to start in June in Winnipeg. They're going to start holding these bogus hearings where you're not allowed to name names. You're not given any immunity when you give a testimony, so you can get sued by the churches if you talk, and they're all protected. What we want to do is whenever they hold a TRC forum, we're there to hold a counter hearing, to say if you want to come and tell the real truth, come to our hearing, and we're going to tell the real story and get it out. So that's something I urge you to do in Toronto, and get in touch with these folks here and work on that, because we're doing that in Vancouver, and we've got a real audience too, because in Europe, when I was over in Europe, I was on national radio in Ireland, where the same shit is going on, happened in Catholic schools there. In Italy, they're really interested in this, so we have a real hearing. We're not isolated anymore, but we need to stay together and work together. From my heart, I really thank you all. I'm really happy to be here on this really warm day, because we're really warm together in our love and our commitment, aren't we?
That's right.
This is Kevin Annett with the Friends and Relatives of the Disappeared, and I want you to listen to Word of Mouth Wednesday. And please listen to our website, hiddenfromhistory.org.